Hi everybody, it's Andy Phillips here, Ping Community, and as you can see, I've got Mike Bristow from Crowd Property. Hi Mike, how you doing?
Hi, very good, thank you. And you?
Yeah, very, very good. And it's getting busier as the year goes on, which is fantastic. Now we're going to talk today about grow your business faster and more profitably by valuing your time, which is probably one of the things that people should be doing more of. You know, the amount of time that you actually spend doing things within this business is critical, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly right. People are very bad at valuing their time, and that's what I want to bring to life here as to what that sort of really means, and the impact of it, right? So
yeah, cool. Well, let's get we'll get your presentation up and let's crack into this.
Good. Sounds good. So let's talk about some of the things that are most important to developers. But in particular, I want to bring to the fore the point around what it means to use your time best. And just as a recap, we've now funded £370 million worth of projects, over a third of £1 billion, £223 million worth of facilities agreed, funded the development of 1,858 homes and 180 million lent, and these numbers are always changing, as I always say. But that's great, and it's very much typical of us serving customers brilliantly in this market. So we're excited about the growth and bringing you a better and better product. So I'd like to sort of dig into a little bit of our research, right, and what developers want, okay, from their finance providers. Right. And I'm going to skip these few slides sort of quite quickly because we have talked about them before, and then focus in on particularly the speed and the ease of use point, because that's really around time. Okay. Yeah. So when we go out and we ask, right, when you raise finance for a property project, how important are the following factors? People tell us, developers tell us that transparency, speed, loan amount, ease of use, and access to decision makers are the most important things. And that feels right, okay. And I'm going to touch on transparency before talking about time in a second. But I will just dig a little bit deeper into this data and say, well, how does this vary by less experienced people and more experienced people? Because we can learn from more experienced people always. And I'm going to bring in, so I've left the grey line in, which is the overall answer set. And this green line now is those that have relatively less experience than the overall set. So they've done one or two projects. And what we see is most important to them is loan amount, arrangement of exit fees, timing of fees, and interest rates. Basically, the spikes in this chart. Right? And interestingly, they're all the things that go into the spreadsheet. So they're looking for the stuff that makes the deal stack. Right? Very rational and very right. Okay, because that's always important. Okay. The interesting thing then is comparing it to more experienced people. More experienced people, which is this pink line. Now I've left the less experienced people in. Okay, what's relatively more important to them? Well, again, we look for the spikes. Okay, so relatively, transparency, speed, ease of use, access to decision makers, and knowledge and expertise of the lender are more important. Now that's really interesting that the difference is so stark. Because the numbers are always important. Okay, it's just that more experienced people have been through the ringer in this market and felt they haven't got transparency, they haven't got speed, they haven't got ease of use, they haven't got access to decision makers, and haven't got knowledge and expertise to help them in better funding for their project. So I find that fascinating. So really, the call out here for you, if you're relatively early stages in doing property projects, think about more than just goes the things that just go into the spreadsheet. Right? Think about the overall service and transparency and speed and all of these factors around the lender for your property project.
It's interesting that it seems so diametrically opposite. In fact, where there's with less experienced people, the spikes are in completely the different place to the more experienced people. And sometimes I think this is mainly because the more experienced people sort of expect the numbers to be right. They expect the loan amount is going to be right, the interest rates are going to be right. They wouldn't do the deals if they weren't. So their priorities have completely changed to get the best from the deal and the best from the experience of that deal.
Exactly. And I'm a total data geek as well. And when we actually cut this data, we were amazed. And it's one of the most clear messages I've ever seen from consumer research. I've done a lot of that in my previous strategy consulting days, but really, really powerful. So we should all think about, right, am I getting these things from my lender? Because that's what experienced people are looking for. And experienced people are experienced and doing well, right? So let's learn from that. But just before we go into time, I'm going to just touch on transparency, right? Because this is at number one. And what does transparency actually mean? Transparency really means, it's one of the core things we wanted to bring to this market, is that there's a lot of sort of small print and hidden fees, things like that in development finance. And that annoyed us. That frustrated us. And we wanted to bring absolute transparency to that.
You've probably been hit by it, haven't you?
Well, yeah, fortunately.
That's why you're frustrated.
But, yeah. But I have seen a lot of it, and I still see a lot of it when we compare offers, right? And people just think about the headlines and they don't look at the detail. And the detail's really important. And just to give you an illustration of this, so when we asked, again, our survey, lots of people in that survey, the last time you received property project finance, what was the default penalty interest rate? So that is basically the interest rate you move on to after the term of 12, 15, 18 months or whatever, right? And this was fascinating because 25% of people didn't know, right, which is concerning. The reason it's concerning is because of the people that knew, 32% knew it was over 2% a month, and 18% of people knew of that remaining set knew that it was over 3% a month. 3% a month, right? That is an utter disgrace. And so the 25% of people that didn't know is really concerning. You know, you've got to be all over these numbers. You've got to read everything in the contract. There are so many devious things. Remember, this is professional lending. Okay, this is not consumer lending, you know, borrowing something to buy a car where you have the FCA acting in your interest. These are professional loans that are not in a sector to professional activity that is not governed and regulated by the FCA. So lenders in this space can write anything, and they do, right? And it is scary. So we mitigate this in two different ways. A, we have a slight uplift after our term, but miles under anyone else in the market, right? But also, importantly, when someone phones us up and says, I'll be in and out in 12 months, we actually say, well, let's call it 16 months. Okay, and if you pay back early, you're not paying back any more for that extra period anyway. You know, we're pragmatic about it. We're not looking. Our aim in our business is not to maximize the amount of profit from a single loan, right? It is to work with customers over a lifetime. And the way you do that is with transparency and trust, right? And that's so important. And it's not only that. And these are sort of the hard things of what to look for and be careful of in terms of maximizing the profit and scalability of your business. Because what we also see is many other hidden fees in all of the terms. So we see things like arrangement fees quoted as per annum. So if it's a 2% arrangement fee and it's 18 months, it's actually a 3% arrangement fee. I mean, that's utterly ridiculous. Exit fees as a percent of GDV. If it's a great project, it's more than it seems. It's not 1%. Yeah. It's 1.5%. It's 2%. Interest charged quarterly. Go one day into the next 3 months. You get to charge 3 months. Look, there are loads here. This is not the message of this of today, okay? But the key bit is that this is the hard and tangible way, okay, of maximizing profit and scalability and minimizing risk in your business is to be all over these things in any offer that you receive, and we can help you do that. The thing I'd like to focus on here is the less tangible stuff. And what we talked about is valuing your time. So again, in our research and our focus groups, etc., we talk a lot. We understand a lot of people in the market, right? And as well as our own experiences from when we were developing ourselves, right? And broadly, developers spend about a third of their time finding sites, a third of their time delivering sites, and a third of their time, and yes, I have written it like this, faffing around with finance, right? Okay, and that is remarkable. It is remarkable that so much time is spent in the faffing around with finance bit. And some of it is because actually developers, it's not their actual suite to arrange finance. It's not a favorite thing in the world. It's quite a burden. It's quite stressful. Part of it is because lenders keep on asking questions and questions and questions and questions. Partly because they're changing their position, their terms, their offers, etc., through the process, and it's desperately inefficient. Nobody is applying decent technology into this sector to make everything easier. So, what about this then? So, what we commit to do is make not a third of the time, okay, not a sixth of the time, more like a 12th of the time, or even less of your time spent. And it's not faffing with us, but arranging finance, right? And what that means is you spent a bucket load more time, 50% more time finding sites, 50% more time delivering sites, right? And that is interesting, okay? Why is it interesting, okay? Because you compound that and it's massive. You're able to spend more time on finding sites and delivering sites, okay, then over 5 years, that effect is compounded. You could have grown your business 5x just on that time saving alone. So 5 times quicker because we've built a customer focused proposition, right? So the power of saving your time in one area of your business, okay, and redeploying that into the value-adding bits of site finding and project delivery is huge. And please never underestimate that. And not only that, right, that's the growing your business better. Okay, there's also making that more profitable as well. So avoiding those hidden fees, the lack of transparency, etc. But positioning and delivering that speed and certainty of your finance provider with vendors to get a better price. We've worked with many people where we've actually provided the evidence very early up front that we're backing them because we can decide quicker and help them not bid the highest price and still win the project. That's amazing. That's powerful. That's getting tangible. Okay, but we're also helping structure the best strategy and approach, that value-added piece, that discussion through the project, the application, structuring, the sort of we're always putting our view in, and then ultimately also, and we talked about this quite a bit, increasing the probability of success of your projects by working with us as experts. Okay, and that's quite binary because we're all in it together. We want your project to be a success, right? And the binary cost of that not being a success is big. These are all.
I was just going to say, the one thing about this as well, the way you've laid this out, this is, sort of overall time of a project. But what we got to remember as well is that this faffing around with finance is all front loaded at the beginning of a deal. And that can really, really sort of cripple a deal because, we talk about it sort of being, 33% faffing around with finance, doing it the usual way. But if it's so front loaded, what tends to happen is that you spend so much time trying to work out how to get that finance put in place that you do lose deals that way. That's one of the biggest ways you lose deals is by not being able to get in front of the people who are selling quickly enough with a deal, with an actual offer that's stable and things like that. So it looks great the way it is, but it's actually even more powerful than you're talking about here because everything is front loaded.
Exactly that. So it's really important. So look, so conclusion from this is be really careful of the tangible costs, those hidden costs, understanding everything, but also think about your time and your focus and where you're putting your effort to grow your business, both faster and more profitably. Really don't underestimate the power of your time. And as we've talked about before, you can just apply in just 5 minutes, and again have that discussion, again saving your time to have those discussions earlier of what we think about your project, help us filter your projects. Talked about and you'll get information, so listings of architects and planners and things like that, so that saves you time in terms of finding these guys that could be advisors on your projects. Understanding the supply around the market, that can save your time and research because we can provide that for you. And this is why we're growing so quickly, and Financial Times recognize us as one of the fastest growing businesses in Europe, because we're serving customers brilliantly. And that's the important thing. That's the only way that businesses grow, and it's demonstrable from our achievements and our recognitions across a load of awarding bodies. So that's it. And hopefully that brings that to life. And the key message being value your time. Let us help you. Leverage our expertise. See that as almost like an outsourced project assessment function for you to help you find the best projects and grow your businesses better.
Yeah, brilliant. I'll put us back into, take the presentation off now. I've just put the link up to the application as well. Just to round this off, I just want to quickly give people just a little bit of an idea of the speed of the application, how quickly it is just to get the conversation rolling and get things going with people.
Yeah, very much so. And just, crowdproperty.com/apply. You can apply in just a few minutes, and we'll be chatting through your project, chatting through your vision, and helping you to grow your business better.
Fantastic. Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. We've done quite a few in this series, and we will put links into all the lives that we've done for this series. There's probably about 8 of them now, I guess.
I think so, yeah.
Talking about all this sort of stuff. So we'll put all the links in, but if you've got any queries at all, then put them in the comments, let us know, and Mike and the team from Crowd Property will be able to answer any of your questions. And if you have any deals that are coming up, take a look at the application, find out what sort of information you need, and then you can go back and actually put that in there and start that ball rolling. So Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. Thanks very much, and thanks everybody for joining us. See you later.